Yeah.
Cold open, baby.
Wicked cold open. You know what's great about a cold open is because the best thing about a cold open is that that it's we've been having audio issues already just to start this, and I've been like literally on the road for 9 hours driving today, and poor Sam is having to deal with these audio issues that I'm creating. I mean,
But Mike, it's hot out, so a cold open should be very nice for all the listeners.
it's hot out, cold open. That actually might be the title of the pod.
There you go.
You never know. You never know. But I mean, let's just roll with this and see where we go. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Hey, it's United and Green podcast. I love that cold open stuff, man. It's a fun time when audio issues happen and we get to chat straight off the top with no holds barred. But today we have myself again and Sam Tyson. Tyson, I'm pretty sure either has something going on in his life right now or he just hates us. So
I mean, I almost, you almost hope it's that he hates us or hates the podcast at this point. Hope he's doing
yeah,
well though.
I think he loves the podcast, but maybe it's just me. Maybe my beard might anger him. I don't know.
My
It's
lack of beard might anger him too as well. There we
I,
go.
I think yeah, that's actually, you know what? It's your lack of beard, I think. But you're trying, and that's all that matters, Sam.
I mean, it's more laziness, but it is what it is.
So yeah, once again, it's myself and Sam Minton, Blazing Musket writer extraordinaire, and we're here to discuss a couple of matches and maybe do a quick preview of this weekend. What do you say?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Exciting times for Vermont Green fans.
It really is like we did Tom and I, Tom Proctor and I did that instant reaction from last Saturday, the Seaboats match, and it was um it was an interesting situation because like Tom was up in the booth, and after the match gets over, I run up there. I'm soaking wet. I strip off all my rain gear, and I'm soaked actually through my rain gear. I mean, it was 45 degrees. It was cold. It was rainy. There was still about 1,000 people there, like
Mhm.
through the end of the game, and that tells you something. That tells you that it means a lot to this community here in Burlington, and especially that game against that team, being the defending national champions, haven't fared so well this year, and we did get a lot of trolling in on Mr. Dos Santos, and he kind of tried to troll us back, Jamie Vardy style, by pointing to the sleeve and the trophy on the sleeve. I mean, as a Tottenham fan, that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Actually, not near and dear, but it's a little piercing to my heart because he did that to us. He's been doing that to us since like 2015-16 season, where they won the league and the Battle of the Bridge sunk Tottenham. Um, but all things considered, I think the scoreboard told the story, and the good guys came out on top. So let's get to like some of these match highlights because, and again, Tom and I did a post match reaction, so it was very raw. It was very emotional. Um, there were a lot of things that I saw on the field that on the watch back, um, you know, kind of confirmed what I had actually seen on the field from my level. From Tom's level, he sees it at a different level. He sits way up atop. He gets to see the full field view, And I think that's why this is kind of a great idea to do these post match home game reactions. So we'll keep doing that. So we had goals from, uh, and if you haven't seen the game and you just want to listen to this for some tactical reaction or some tactical breakdown, well, we're not going to give you much tactical breakdown because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about half the time. Um, but we did get goals from Ajagby, Tatavan, Zach Zenge, uh, and Esquiliarda. And the last two goals were actually some of my favorites because they were results of super hard work. Um, and you see that a lot of times with guys who are like they're called tap-in merchants. Harry Kane has been a victim of that for his entire career, even though we know that's not necessarily true. Brennan Johnson, to name another Tottenham guy who runs in from behind and just puts balls in because he's in the right place at the right time. Oftentimes, it's a result of a lot of hard work, and I think you saw that in Esquiles and Zach's. The great thing about that was that Zach didn't have the best season with the Green last year. And I think despite us making it as far as we did in the tournament last year, um, it wasn't necessarily our best year as a club. I think maybe we took a little bit of a step back last year. And Tom and I have talked about that. But this game, emotions were riding high. I think the captains and Musa and Zach made sure to explain to this team and to the new guys what this meant. It's a true derby. It really is a true derby. Um, the what few fans they have hate us. We don't like them at all. They come from the upside down. They have players that are, excuse me, that are shithousers, that are troll artists online. Dos Santos um, coined the phrase in a post in a DM to me last year. He coined the phrase. Oh no, actually, he said that to you. Social
It
media
was on a
FC.
story, and I happened to send it to you, Mike, and that has
That's right.
sparked a revolution. Some would say.
It did. So social media FC, we're wearing that as a badge of honor. So um, we love it because we do things the way that big clubs do things, and that's the way you're going to get ahead in pre-professional soccer. So the weather was shit. Um, like I said, and Vermont Green uh, is a side that, and we talked when we talked to TC earlier in the season, like he or C TC CT. He told us TC's from Magnum PI. He's the guy who flew the helicopter. Um,
Or
but
Portland Hearts of Pine owner, Tom Karen.
Tom Karen, my favorite Red Sox announcer. Anyway, his son went to St. Mike's. Yeah, fun fact. So he told us that his team is going to be super high pressing. They're going to be super high energy. They're going to attack. Um, no player on the team is going to be immune from the attack. Everybody's going to be involved all the time in all facets of the game. And I kind of love that. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work if you get caught out, right? If you don't have speedy defenders, like we have speedy defenders. We have Rui's a speedy defender. We have physical defenders like Musa, right? Um, so that always helps. Um, but I think that like the showcase that we put on in this match in the rain just overwhelmed Seaboats. And they didn't know how to deal with it. Like a lot of these guys are new over there. They had some returning players, but a lot of these guys are new. But I think Vermont put their stamp on this to say that we're here, we're going to dominate this division, and we're gonna put the work in to show everybody that we're not here to lie down. This year, I think, is the year. Um, the midfield, the midfield controlled the tempo. The midfield and you're inverting wing backs, if you will. Um, and we have an 18-year-old who is in Amoni Thomas, who is something else, man. Um, this kid is outrageous. I haven't seen a talent like this come through Vermont Green since probably Gavork, probably. And it's pretty amazing to see. Um, like Tay Healy was not even involved, right? Um, Dos Santos had a few touches. He had one kind of breakaway, which Rui stomped out pretty quickly. Rui tracked back super quick, super quick. So, I mean, every single one of these players in this team, there wasn't a anybody who gave a performance that was below a 7 out of 10 for me. Uh, I it's very very hard to quantify the importance of this match for Vermont Green. I mean, what do you think the importance of this match is, and just kind of give me an overview of what you saw from maybe highlights or replays, because I know you were up in Portland at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, you're just looking at the result. That's the definition of a statement game, and the fact that it pretty much looks like it's going to be a two-horse race for the top of Northeast Division. It's going to come down to Western Mass or Vermont Green, and I think the Green have the advantage in the sense that Seacoast and Western Mass tied their match. So right now, I would say the Green have the edge, but a real statement affair. I think you mentioned Zenge. I think we're really seeing him come into his own, really reach a new level. Been really impressed with his play even prior to scoring the goals. So the fact that he's now starting to score, I think, is crucial as well too. But overall, you have the ability up top. You have a guys like Rui, and Moni Thomas. You're correct. He is someone that we haven't really seen in a green uniform. He's the youngest player to ever wear a Vermont green uniform, and you can see there's still some there's still some kind of refining that needs to come to his game. But everything you hear about this kid is that the sky's the limit, and that he has a really high ceiling, and he has the potential to be a very good player. So excited to see that. We started to see Nicholas Hertzeg get starts in net. It's gonna be interesting to see how that's handled between Jude and him. Seems like right now at least Hertzeg's gotten a decent run of starts. But overall, again, a real statement. Not just the fact that you're able to put up 4 goals, the fact that you're able to put up, get a clean sheet. And I think, obviously it's pretty rough for Seacoast at the moment. It seems like the Alex Ryan effect might be real, but also they did have some talent turnover as well too. And you wonder whether it be Tag Healy or DeSantos, if those guys weren't there, what exactly it'd be like. So a big win overall. Like you said, everyone seems really committed to the style of play that Chris Taylor wants his guys to play. You see it day in and day out. The press is on. They're just giving guys nowhere to breathe. Occasionally the team might be able to get caught out on the counter. But overall, this team has been playing very well. Even when they go down, you have the faith that they'll be able to come back. So overall, just it's really tough to pick out the flaws, if you will. But I think especially having guys like Zenge performing well, Arnaud Tativan looks like he's a very quality striker. You had a Jagbe get on the board. You're starting to see this team come to their own. We saw 2-1, some low scoring games for the Green. But now, they were really able to light up the sheet in the most recent 2 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to develop. But really, I think, Zenge is really kind of that straw that stirs the drink, whether it be leading the press, whether it be, working in the attack, creating chances. So, really impressed with how he's done so far.
Yeah, another guy that we didn't mention, a couple of guys actually, Picoto, um, are Italian, and Enzo Dovlo. Dovlo is also quite a player, and I think that I think he ended up getting the man of the match. He had
Hmm.
two the Maple man of the match. He had 2 balls in that led to goals. Um, beautiful balls in. And but I know that a Jagbe's goal was was kind of the highlight, the opener,
Yeah.
that the 6 minute opener on the south end of the stadium, and in front of the Green Mountain Boys, and and that was some of the most beautiful. That was one of the most beautiful pieces of one on one beating your man, or actually one on two beating two men, leading to a goal, just putting it across the front of goal, going far post, using the post, using that far side of the goal to score a goal. It, that one deserves a slow motion replay, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. So I would urge Vermont Green to get on that. Um, so we talked about Zach Senge, and I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe Chris Taylor giving him that armband, giving him that leadership role this year, him being the elder statesman. It's not necessarily so. Obviously, this year is not the Bazzini show, right? We have multiple different players scoring now.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel that, like, giving somebody like Zach that armband, that leadership role, um, do you think that it is it was imperative to to kind of boost his ability to play and to have successful season here, and giving him that leadership role makes him a better player on the field?
Yeah, I definitely think it gives them more confidence. You have that inherent trust, from the coach, and you're expected to be a leader. And I think, he is someone who will be vocal. He'll let players know if they're slacking in training. He'll, let guys know when to press and kind of be able to. I think you even saw it in some game, the game he didn't start. He's still vocal on the bench and being really active in the game. So, I do think that brings some inherent confidence, but there's also the fact, he isn't getting any younger, even though he's still quite young. But he was drafted by the Columbus Crew. This is kind of the time where you need to start showing, are you capable of getting to that next level? Are you capable of being a leader in that next level? So I think he recognizes the moment, but also too giving him that leadership ability, giving him the captain's armband, gives him some confidence, but also gives him some freedom uh, to realize that he's trusted, and that, if he sees something on the pitch, Chris Taylor is kind of giving him the green light to try and exploit what he can see.
Yeah. So moving away from Zach for a second, because uh, I've mentioned a number of times he's my favorite player on the team. He's been my favorite player on the green for some time. I think that is his leadership and his maturity as a young man, it puts him heads above everybody else. Um, a couple of the other guys that I want to mention. It actually, this can actually maybe segue into our next section, where we're going to talk about Albany. Um, I think that, like, looking at this team this year, the way that this team is built, the talent that's on the squad allows Vermont Green to have rotation that we haven't had before. Um, so when you're talking about rotation, you're talking about not just defensive rotation, which we have, with guys like Ayublar. We can throw Vasilu in there. He plays kind of can play like a Swiss Army knife type of role. He can be a midfielder. He can play defense. As a wing back. Obviously, we mentioned Rui and Musa. Um, Amoni Thomas, obviously, but we in our center backs, we have three center backs that are capable. We don't have to run Musa out there every single game, burn him out. We're gonna have guys that can play. We also have forwards, many forwards. We have two very capable strikers. Um, you have a Tatavan, who is a run in from behind guy. He is a guy who will give you that fancy footwork, that sexy kind of touch inside the box, and probably score you some nice goals. But then you have uh, somebody like like Tyler Trimnell, um, you know, um, coming out of South Carolina, who is a big hold up striker. He's tall. Um, he's a guy who can distribute. He's a guy who looks super, super confident when he's on the spot. He's been on the spot a couple of times, one in the Albany game. Jacob Labovitz, who's going to come in and spell some guys throughout the season. We've talked about Enzo and Marcel Papp actually played against Albany, and he looked good at times. Even Romy got in against, and he actually played. I think he played the full match against and scored against in the friendly against Trubistar.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have a lot of guys, and that's before you even mention a Jagby and NGK.
Yeah, exactly. And, kind of transitioning into that Albany game, got off to, good start. Marcel Papp was able to earn that penalty. And I think both me and you might have had the same thought, so I don't want to forget about it. I texted the club owners. I'm pretty sure that is the first lineup that Vermont has had that did not feature a starter that was on the team, last year or previous years. And I think that's one, just tells you that, the club's lasted. It's not necessarily going anywhere, and that, this is the natural evolution of clubs. But I think it also talks to you about the depth and the quality of talent. Like you said, you don't have to run out a guy like Musa. You have quality center backs. You don't have to have a guy like Zenge start. He ends up coming in later. So that was really interesting to see. Like you mentioned, Tyler Trimnell was able to step to the spot. There was a little falter. Green did allow a goal, but I think what was most impressive was how they responded to that. Able to get three unanswered. You had guys like Zenge again. Thought he had a really impressive play in that match when he came on. You had Rui getting a goal, which is great to see. And then, I really just think that the most important part of that performance was just how they responded to going down a goal. Because obviously, when those moments come, you can get a little frazzled. Teams can panic a little bit. And, you saw, with Seacoast and Western Mass, they dropped points because no one was able to recover and, get the edge. So I think when you saw how this team responded, they weren't despondent. They were able to respond and get the goals. And, you had a guy like Zenge come on and kind of bring that calming presence. You have guys like Njike, you have Dovlo, really just playing impressive. Again, Dovlo, great with his distribution, and Njike, great speed, but also too just on the ball ability. You kind of see it with Dovlo and Tati Vaughn. They're able to combine quite well overall when they're both on the pitch. But really, yeah, what stood out with this game was just how they were able to respond. And I mean, even at the points, when they were tied, Vermont had clear control of the game in the sense that they were pressing well, they were controlling possession. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Vermont just kind of got caught out on the goal that they allowed.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I was talking about before, right? Is where you can pick times to press, right? And I think they were pressing very hard, very effectively for quite some time. At that point, they were. It was at the end of the half, right? So it was like
Yeah.
at what the 42nd minute, 43rd minute, where that goal was scored. You could see it coming. They kind of did get caught out. They were a little bit Albany gave them some time to kind of compose themselves defensively, and they just didn't. They left open a lot of space, and I can't remember the goal scorer's name for Albany. I had it on the tip of my tongue, but what a ball! I mean, absolutely. Even for the 6'7" Nick Herseg,
Yeah.
like it was one of the nicest goals that I've seen in USL too in a long, long time. Like one of the nicest shots from distance. Like it was perfectly pinpoint placed, and
Because
they
I have it pulled up, I'll give him a shout out. 18-year-old, fellow 18-year-old midfielder, Lucas Horja.
there you go. Um, I can tell you, dude, that like the way he took that shot, he looked like he was seasoned veteran. Um, but also, maybe maybe 9 times out of 10, that ball doesn't go in.
Yeah.
He gets underneath it too much. He leans too far back, whatever. But Vermont just we got caught out, left them too much space when we tried to collect ourselves, and gave up a goal. But like you said, the way that they responded in the second half, I don't know what Chris Taylor's halftime team talk sounds like. Is it is it inspirational? Is it get your act together? You look like clowns. I don't know what it looked like, but I can tell you, like, you get into about 55 minutes at that point, 10 minutes into the second half, and they score, then you see things start to open up. Even my son, my 12-year-old son, is sitting there. He's like, as soon as we scored that second goal, he said, "Oh, this game's going to open up wide.
Yeah.
It's going to, like, the game is going to be played wide open. Uh, Everything's going to be in space, because at that point, it's like you hit that team and they're going to be on their heels. They had 2 wins. They weren't they were still in the league. They were still in the game, right? So they're 2-0-2. So they're still sitting there in the top 5, and they felt they still had a chance. But, like, when you get scored on, and then you're able to bring on guys like Zach Zingay and Mo Ibrahim, like, who we
Mhm.
didn't mention before too, who is like
Correct.
a right-sided dribbly winger who will just destroy you with his speed and his agility, um, and his close control, like. And I'll tell you, like, that kid Mo Ibrahim is this year. I know Bazzini has been in the past, but this year Mo Ibrahim is the kid's fan favorite out there. Uh,
Ooh.
I'll tell you, like, that the friendly game we played against Providence, the line for Mo was longer than any other line. So yeah, it's something, man. The, he continues to impress me. He continues to impress me. I think Vermont has kind of an embarrassment of riches in the NCAA ranks coming up this coming season, and they're going to be looking to capitalize on what they've been able to draw in. But getting back to the Albany game, yeah, as soon as that second goal was scored, the game was essentially over. Like you said, a lot of like ball control. Like, you heard coaching instructions coming out of Chris
Yep.
Taylor. Like, by like the 60th, 70th minute, you started hearing Chris Taylor say, "Control the ball, pass it around, pass the ball, pass the ball," instead of saying press, 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 right? Which he had been saying, like, throughout the whole first half. And the first half was kind of disjointed a little bit for me. It was they did control the ball a lot. It was probably about a 60-40 to Vermont. But the second half, like, as soon as that second goal was scored, the game was over. Um, and every other goal that was scored there, like the goal that was scored by Jacob.
Yep.
I mean, what a ball! And it was essentially a tap. And, like, the thing with Vermont is, like I've said before, is, like, we have this rotation option, right?
Yeah.
So the rotation option leads to guys being able to come in and run at tired legs. A lot of these other teams don't have that rotation option. They don't have a lot of subs. The Boston teams don't have a ton of subs on their bench. You know, even Least Coast had almost like 4 subs on their bench, and they brought them all in together. It was really, it was, it's almost unfair, I think, but I think it's a testament to what Pfeiffer and Taylor have built here in Vermont.
Yeah, they really deserve a lot of credit for the roster they've been able to construct and also just the talent they've been able to bring. I mean, at this point, they could probably just grab all of Vermont's roster and they'd still have a pretty good roster. But just being able to grab not only players with, OD college experience, but also being able to get guys who have international experience, I think is very valuable. Um, and I think just overall, too, another guy that mentioned Julien Lebaudalou. Um, I can
Waterloo.
I can only say his name in a very French accent.
Yeah, you have
Um, yeah, but just the service he provides, great on free kicks. He was the one who served it up to Rui.
to. Yep.
A great kind of midfield presence. I think he kind of adds maybe more of that skill, maybe more of that technique. And then you have guys like maybe an Esquil, for example, who are able to, really be a workhorse in that midfield, whether it be, getting in on the attack or just defending. Definitely a skill, big dude. So I think, definitely want to mention Labordalu, but again, it really just seems like it's going to come down to uh, being clinical and being able to put teams away. And then I think it's just going to come down to that Western Mass Pioneers match, because I think it's the top two. So whoever ends up getting those matches is probably going to be at the top of the division.
Yeah, I think that's why Vermont has to make sure that they continue to press on, continue to, and goal differential comes in as a second tiebreaker, right? Because of the way that the league is set up, and not every division has the same amount of teams. So we have to play points per match, right? So it's still goal differential can be a big thing coming down to the end of the season when we play Western Mass away at their gaff, right? So um, you know I think it's important to make sure that you're racking up points as you go along, that you're winning matches you need to be winning, beating the teams that you need to beat. I think that I still believe that NEFC is going to be a real fucking hassle, even though they're trying to find their way right now. I think they're going to be a hassle.
Yeah.
Western Mass is going to be a problem, and for what it's worth, I know they lost again, and when I told my daughter that they lost again, she said, "What a bunch of losers." She texted that right back to me. The Sea Boats. I think there's still going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem for a lot of teams, but the team that scares me the most, led by Sam McCann, is AC Connecticut. They've been building year after year after year after you know being one of the better teams in the league in the division for a couple of years before Vermont came in. They're always right up there in the hunt, in the fight. Um, I think they've rebuilt, they've retooled. They have a team that's very fast, that's very exciting to watch, um, but can be controlled if they run into a tough defense. Which is what I really like about Chris Taylor, is that he looks at the team he's playing, and the team he's playing, will determine who gets put out there. Whether it's Esquil, like you said, you know, he can be a hammer out there, right? He can play a number six, but he can also play number eight, right?
Yeah.
Um, he's never going to be that number 10 style, like creative style midfielder who's gonna do that. I mean that's like, we have guys who can play all over the midfield. Like you said, Labordalu is a guy who can play in a 10 or an 8, right? He can be a box to box guy, right? Um, he's going to be your set piece manager. He's going to probably be mostly a number 10. Zach Senga is going to be a number 10.
Yeah.
But like, I like midfielders I like the box to box midfielder. I
Yeah.
like that number 8 role. I like that guy who can be a hammer, but he can also be creative if he has to be. Um, and for what it's worth, Vermont has, like I said before, an embarrassment of riches, and it's fun to watch. They've always had teams that control the midfield, and I think that's what you need in this league to win games, is control the midfield, because you know, and to have speedy wing backs, because like it, you can play that high press game. You can play that. It's going to be hard to win games if you're playing a low block or a mid low block your
Yeah.
entire your entire season. Even though you know the Seaglass United did that for the last 3 seasons with their coach. Is they played that mid low block and just waited to counter on you with Tag Hilly and Dose, right? So I that's kind of anti football. I don't like it. My club tried to play that for a year, in the Premier League, and didn't work out. Um, but I think Vermont Green has the upper hand. Obviously, Western Mass is going to be there in the end, and I think it will come down to that last match, and all bets are off. The Bahoys are going to go down to Ludlow, and it's going to be a party the way it was last year, and we're going to have a lot of fun because it's on a Friday night. So, like I said, the gloves will be off, and it's going to be a fun season to watch this team. Let's look ahead real quick before we sign off. We're about 10 minutes away from I think from closing this out. Um, but we are looking ahead this weekend. We got another one of the Boston teams. We're gonna close out 3 out of the 4 matches. We have Boston Bolts again this Saturday at 7 p.m. Virtue Field. It's gonna be a raucous crowd. I think that um, as the community and as the city starts to buy in even more on this team, they start seeing that, oh my gosh, this team hasn't lost a match yet. Oh my gosh, this team's only given up 1 goal all season. I think that you're going to really start to see more of a buzz. And every single year, this is going to keep happening. There's going to be more of a buzz. Of course, there could be a letdown. We don't know, right? I don't think so with this team this year. I really wanted to see what happened post the Bazzini era. I think watching this team play, I don't think Boston stands a chance. I think it's going to be a tight game early on, and then I think Boston is going to fizzle out the same way Albany did.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. Just in the sense that just like Vermont had to make the drive, now Boston will have to make the drive, and I think maybe similar. Like you said, maybe it's tense. First 10 minutes. But I imagine whether it just be because of the press and kind of being worn down, or just the fact that Vermont's able to find a goal. I think once the first goal is scored, I would say no matter who it is, I would probably lean Vermont. It's gonna open up, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. Um, you know, it looked like Boston was gonna put up a good fight, but then they had the red card. Um, and I think they have done well, whether it be going up against the likes of Seacoast or other organizations. But like you said, I think Vermont just has too much talent, and I think they're just only getting to their peak, and they're just continuing to grow as a team. So I'd expect them to play even better. So definitely will be a fun one, but I think it particularly will be a fun one for Vermont fans because I think it should be a strong performance for them, and it'll be interesting to see you know how Chris Taylor manages minutes. But I think no matter who he puts out there, Vermont will come out on top.
My guess is you're probably going to see Rui hit the bench, and you'll see Musa come back in. It looks like they're going to get each guy's going to get 2 games and then rotate out. Um, we're not going to destroy this team because I think that at this point, if we continue to build points and teams continue to drop points, that it's important that we keep rotating for the playoffs because hopefully maybe at some point soon that Vermont gets to host a playoff and we don't have to travel to friggin' New Jersey or Virginia or wherever it is in late summer where it's 155 degrees outside. Um,
I think the playoffs should be held in Massachusetts, personally.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Or maybe even at Center Bank, or Center. What is it? Centerville Bank
Centerville
Stadium.
Bank.
Yeah, like that could be a cool place, right? I know Rhode
If
Island
only the
has
MLS team had their own stadium, Mike.
I wouldn't want to go into an MLS stadium to play a USL. I don't think the MLS stadium would allow a USL tournament to happen there, but you never
We
know.
can dream. We can
What would be
dream.
actually ideal would be a stadium maybe somewhere in the Williston area. That would be lovely. That would
Yeah.
be lovely. I'm saying
Like,
Williston because that seems to be the closest place with any kind of land options. Um, maybe South Burlington, but I digress. Yeah, and off the heels of that, we have. Oh shoot, do we have a women's match coming up?
sure do, pal.
We sure do, pal.
About to be
Um,
Women's Week.
we have a women's week coming up next week, right? We don't know much about the women's team that's coming up, so when I get that information, and maybe we'll do an impromptu, maybe what is it? The game's on Wednesday, right? So we can maybe do an impromptu, maybe a Monday or Tuesday podcast. Who knows? What we'll see. What we'll see. But
I mean, we know who's coaching. Sam Mewis,
yeah,
back in the saddle after she was asked if she would retire because she's undefeated. She said, "No, no, no, I will return." I
she
forget if
spoke on
you.
a podcast amazingly about this team that's coming up, and she's very excited. I think so. And she's
Yeah, and
very. I think she's in very. I think the thing about that's great about Sam is that she has kind of moved here, put herself into the soccer scene, but not overextended herself and not
yeah,
tried to use her celebrity to propel herself, but to propel other players, and to propel this club and bring soccer, community soccer, to a point where it's not just popular in the men's game, but also in the women's game. And from what I hear, there are some very, very exciting, very, very young women that are going to be coming into this squad that might get to contribute. I haven't actually heard if we have any returning players from last year, but um, I'm assuming that maybe Liv White will reprise her role as team captain, which would be completely awesome. Uh, I think she's stuck around this club, and I'm assuming she's probably working with the club. She's a homegrown. She's one of our own. So we would love to, and we've had her on the podcast, and we would love to see her out there again, leading the squad, and you never know what's going to happen.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I forget if you were there, Mike, but just the atmosphere for that women's game last year was absolutely bonkers. I'll never forget just being on the pitch post game, just the amount of people. Um, Sam Mewis probably waiting like hours, maybe almost 2 hours, signing, making sure that she signed every single person's autograph. Um, it is a testament to who she is as a person. Um, but it's always great to see the community come together to uplift the women's game and just really show out. So it was such an amazing atmosphere, and now that you have two games, I imagine it'll be even better.
I think it's going to be important to to move the Vermont Green women's team into a space where they can have a league. And these two games are going to be, the first against Flower City, who is a tested amateur team, in a league that Vermont Green could be joining, or a similar type of a league that Vermont Green could be joining. They're an older team. They've been around for a long time, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll have a good group of women to go out there and show what the women's game is all about. And it was every single bit as exciting
Oh yeah,
as any of the men's matches, if not probably the best match of last year.
yeah.
Ending in
Like I
penalty.
said,
Ending
the
in penalty.
atmosphere, the penalties, the goals. I mean, it was amazing.
My daughter, who stands on the rail with us, in the south stand, jumped over the rails onto the field to get Sam's autograph, and you know, we got she got Sam's autograph on her shirt and on our Legends flag. So it's pretty awesome. Hopefully we could get her on the podcast maybe postseason and talk about her experience. So that would be wonderful. But so until then, maybe we'll give you. We're definitely going to give you a post match with a special guest that I have lined up um, for post match, as long as he gets through with all of his autographs in a reasonable time. Um, I'm not going to pull him away from anybody. So,
How many
yeah.
autographs is Tyson signing nowadays?
What's that?
How many autographs is Tyson signing nowadays?
Tyson will sign any autographs you want. In fact, Tyson, you know what? Tyson and I have been confused for each other a number of times. And I'll let you know that Tyson is the skinnier, more handsome, bigger bearded version of me. A little less loud. He's like a teddy bear, though.
He
So
is, yeah. Yeah, I think you nailed that comparison.
if you see Tyson out there, sometimes he wears his jean vest because he's super punk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Get him to autograph your shirt for you. Bring your Sharpie pen and get him to autograph your shirt for you. And I'm sure he would love that.
next time I'm in Vermont, I'm getting Tyson's autograph.
There you go. There you go. And ask Spencer which one of us is which.
Oh, I will, and I bring it up a lot.
Because Spence always gets it. He's the one who always gets us mixed up. But so I guess that kind of ends the podcast, man. It's been a great time.
Oh yeah, great time as always. I mean, it's easy to talk about the Vermont Green when they're performing well and at the top of the league. So hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to talk about a loss to the team that claims around the coast of the sea that aren't actually on
More
the
like
coast.
River Coast, am I right?
They're like 35 minutes from the coast. I don't understand why they call themselves that. But yeah. Anyway, I digress. So until next time, guys, let's do a little housekeeping here. We are the United Green Podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms except Apple. And if you need that, you can always DM us at our Blue Sky or at our Instagram. And we have Sam here, who is from the Blazing Musket. He writes for the Blazing Musket. The Blazing Musket is a soccer website that specializes in New England soccer. You can get all of your soccer news and content in New England soccer, from the MLS all the way down through the championship, USL 1, and even a couple of USL 2 teams now. So it's great if you can go out there and support their paid tier. They support us here at United and Green, and we'll continue to shout them out every time we can, because they're a great publication and a great website. So yeah, until then, guys, I just want to invite everybody to Virtue Field to watch our beloved Vermont Green and cheer on the boys on the field. So next time, hopefully we'll be talking about a win, maybe two.
Definitely.
All
Up the
right.
green, baby.
Up the green.